Finally received my rotary roller assembly that I bought from Gearbest, the Ortur one, and it arrived by DHL today. Actually, the mail lady delivered it, but I ordered it quite a while ago from Gearbest, and I actually even wound up paying an extra $10 to get it from Hong Kong because they said they'd ship it weeks ago, and turned out that you can't believe any of Gearbest shipping dates anymore because they just, when you check out, they just give you a date and they never hit it. So finally it arrived, and you can see it came in good condition. I thought the box was a little bit small for what I had ordered, but it turned out that it's not an assembled unit. It's actually basically a kit that you get, and you have to put it together. They don't tell you that when you order it. And, everything came packaged well, and, those separate bags were all the different components and hardware and the timing belt drives and laser cut plastic parts there. And you can see it was packed pretty well in that, heavy foam there. And a couple of side plates. Mount it. The thing that I ran into, though, is they do not supply, well, I'll show you in a second, but they do not supply instructions anymore in the box. So you have to go to a site and download them, and I just couldn't get to that web address that they gave me at the time. So I did have some problems, and I'm just going to be assembling it here without the instructions. So you can see it comes with a hardware list of what's supposed to be in there, and then it comes with this code to scan, and they wanted you to put an app on your tablet, stuff like that, but I don't do all that crap. So, I couldn't get into what I wanted, and these are the parts here. What came, rollers, and they had this smell like old cigarette butts. They were really stinky, the rollers, for some reason. And then it came with some pulleys and extra cable and a little hardware bag and stuff like that. And that's basically it, one piece of extrusion that everything mounts on. And again, I couldn't get into all that stuff. Later I did get into 3 pages of it, but this is what it gave. This is all I could get at the time, and I was able to print that out. But so that's what I'm going by. So this this isn't really the exact instructions for assembling it. So I just figured I'd start by mounting that extrusion there onto the side plates, and they do give you some M5 screws that mount that together. It sure would be nice if Ortur would set up a site where you could go look up what you own or what you purchase from them, and you can see what firmware it should be at. You can see instruction manuals. You can see everything in one place, because there's like no way to get documentation on this Ortur stuff. There's not even a site for the laser stuff yet. So that does upset me a little bit, because it should be easy to find stuff like this and easy to download. But anyhow, I'm done bitching, and I just put the screws in loose, and then I just pushed it down on the flat bench top there so that I could tighten everything and it would not be skewed or anything. So that's a basic assembly there. And then there's a couple little rubber feet, and I figured they went on just like the ones on the other laser, the Ortur 1. So I just wrapped them around on the little lumps that are there for it to stand on. And I found out later I should have waited to put the one on in the corner by the stepper motor, because I had to peel that back a little bit to get the motor to seat. But next I decided to put the stepper motor in, and I oriented the connector the way they had it in that picture that I printed out. And there again, it came with 4 little screws to mount that, and they all fit perfectly, and it was easy to assemble. And just went back and tightened them up a little bit. And then there's some roller holders. These hold the bearings, or these little plastic, I think they're laser cut parts, and there's 2 screws that mount them on each side. And then there's some flanged bearings, and the bearings go on with the flange towards the roller there, and they just fit perfectly in those little plastic pieces there. I'm showing you on the other one. And then just 2 screws to hold that in. And this is the fixed roller. This one never moves. It stays in place. And then the other roller actually adjusts according to the size of your part. So I just got the nut started there, and just kind of finger tighten them to get going. And I noticed when I was trying to tighten it a little bit that they did wiggle around a lot and stuff, and there was a lot of play in the screw holes. So I decided to get a square and make sure that they were perfectly squared up, because if any of these rollers are skewed, you won't get a perfect rotation on it. So I just squared up both sides there when I tightened them, and I figured that would make it run truer when it was all done. The same thing there. I just used the edge of the bracket, so at least I'd know that they were both parallel. And then I noticed it was like it wasn't square in that corner. There was play on the roller, and it turned out that one end plate there that's got the big slot in it was actually bent slightly. So I was able to just bend that back a little bit and get the roller so it fit nice and tight, and so it eventually was nice and straight there. So it's that one you have to watch out for, I guess. You can see it's such a thin piece of metal there where they have that big slot taken out that would be easy to bend. And then the same thing for the adjustable roller. The bearings go on there, and you can see there that little bracket goes on there, and then there are two more of the M5 screws that go through there, and nuts on the back, and they actually drop down into the slots to make it so you can adjust that forward and backward. Now, one thing that I'm going to say about this is these M5 nuts are a real pain in the neck to get to. And when you go to tighten things down and stuff, it's hard to keep everything from moving and, getting an accurate location of it. So those 2 nuts there on each side, I'm eventually going to decide I'm going to make a nut plate just to make it usable. Because you can see when you put it close together there and you've got that extrusion under there, you really can't get a wrench in there to hold them while you're tightening it. And everything just kind of tries to rock away. So I figure one single nut plate, so you don't need a wrench, would solve all those problems. And as you tighten those screws with the separate nuts, you can see the whole piece does shift a little bit too. That's one of those other little things that I'm probably gonna do to this to make it easier to use. And then there's some pulleys that come with it there, but I decided to get the picture out. I found this is on Gearbest site. I looked at these pictures just to get an idea how everything went together. And you got the pulleys, and then there's a bunch of bearings. And what you have to do is kind of make up an idler pulley with the bearings, and you put 2 bearings with the flanges out, and you put the M5, one of the long M5 screws through it. And then I got the next part of the assembly wrong. I found another better picture of it. It turns out you're supposed to put the lock nut on to hold these together first, and then put the washer on, and then put it through the assembly. And then I started looking at the pulleys, and I'm like, holy crap, the bore in both of these pulleys are different. I just couldn't believe that. One of the pulleys fits, and the other one doesn't fit at all. It's a wrong pulley they sent. And luckily the little one fit too. So, at least it was undersized, so I could go back and mess with it later. But that's just another thing that I didn't expect either. I've seen such good quality from Ortur in the past. So I just put those idlers in there to just stretch the belt around and just kind of get an idea of how it went and how it's going to tighten up. And you know, that one there I've got to go drill out. And you can see the shafts actually are a little bit under 5 millimeter. They're like 4.9 millimeter shafts, and the hole in that one pulley there is, you know, a little bit over 5 on the good one, and then the other one, it looks like an identical pulley, and it's got a 3.99 ID. So I don't know how they got the wrong ID on it, but you know, that's definitely one of those little headaches. I guess I'm never going to get anything that goes together right the first time anymore. It just seems like just so many, you know, so many issues you have. So I just stuck that one pulley on there to get an idea of the belting and, you know, where that's going to go. Tried to get that tightened down. I figured you can see how it rocks and moves, and you can't get the nut under there or the wrench under there to hold the nut. So, you know, that's definitely needs some improvement. But you know, that's an easy fix. I finally got that all tightened down and parallel to the other roller there. And just going to slip that gear on there to see the belt alignment, get an idea. Got to back the set screw out a little bit to get it on there. And then at this point I realized that this is where I had told you before that I had assembled those holders wrong for the idlers. I'll show you that in a second. But then there's this cable here that actually just jumpers over into your laser master cable and controls this motor. So this is where I realized that the belt wasn't lining up and I had to pull the nuts wrong on there. So I just had to change that around and put a nut on after the two idlers there. And I actually put the wrong nut on here. I had to go back and change it later. The lock nut goes on first. And then you put the washer. And then you put the regular nut on the inside. And then these just slide up and down to tension the actual belt, no matter you know, which one of those sets of holes you mount it on. Up on top, that front roller that moves, you just retension the belt and just slide these a little bit one way or the other, and you know, it allows you to always, no matter where the other rollers are, to tension them. And there you can see the two flanges go together, and then that's where the lock nut's supposed to go. So I had the nuts mixed up at this point. And then there's a washer, and I put the lock nut on the outside. And one thing I did find out too is that little wrench that comes with that thing there just doesn't work with the lock nut. It works with the other nuts, but the lock nut just spins around, so you got to use a regular metric wrench or an adjustable one like that. So now I got everything pretty much in line here. It looks like the belt and the pulley, you know, and everything are all lined up now. I just have to go down and fix that. I figured I just double check that they were the same. They had the same OD just in case there was something else wrong with them, but it turned out that they are the same pulley, just the bore of them was different. So I ran down in the shop. I didn't have a metric drill, so I got a closest number drill that I could to 5 millimeters, and I clamped it in the old south bend there. But I should not have clamped it to the OD. I should have clamped it on that hub flange, because it looks like the hole in it was machined to the hub flange and not the OD of it. It turned out, because you can see I got a little bit of a wobble there where it's off center, and it probably will wobble a little bit now when I put it back on there. But so it was actually machined to the hub flange. It was not machined to the OD. So I just thought I'd let you know in case you get one like this and you gotta machine it. So I just double checked it, and I had I was a little bit under 5 millimeters there, but enough to clear that 4.9 shaft. So that was good, and now that fit right on there. Able to get it all buttoned up at this point in time. So then I was able to go back and just kind of, make sure everything was perfectly aligned, tighten it up, and then actually go back and tension that belt. I'm not going to show this running today because without the good instructions, I don't know how to actually use it. I know that you just pull out the one cable from the Ortur motor and plug this motor in, but when you do that, you're working on the circumference of whatever you're engraving, and you're going to have to go into GRBL and change the distance per step on each different size circumference that you work with. So it seems like you're going to need a really a program or something to just calculate the circumference of the piece that you're working with and turn that into the what would have been the linear step, how many steps it is. So I'm not sure that they supply all that with it. So I think this is going to take a while to work out, but there's the first pieces that I cut that I was going to, I want to try the laser on, and I'm going to have to figure out how many steps per millimeter of travel on that surface that I need. So I think this is going to be a little more complex to get working, so I'll do another video about that. Anyhow, I took it over, and there's the my laser master, and I just sighted down that arm to make sure that the wheels on the bottom were exactly parallel so that you wouldn't have any skewing. And then you just have to pull out that one cable on the bottom motor there, and you plug this cable in to replace it. So that I'm going to put some of those like clothespin type clamps on there so it can't move either. And once everything's lined up, you can see that adjustable table that I made. That's this is one of the reasons why I made it. It lets you get the focus distance very easy. And then you want to make sure that you got the focus distance from the face of that piece to the laser, and also you want to be on the center line of the whatever you're engraving on. So this basically is how it looks set up, and but like I said, I really don't know how to make it work right now, so I'm going to have to work on that in the software once I get a little bit of time. And you can see I've got this stand, I've got my computer mounted in there now, and actually I'm waiting for a new mouse and keyboard to come because my old one, the receiver for it, just died. Anyhow, I just thought I'd do a quick video on this to show you what it looks like and how it actually arrives, and how I assembled it. Now, I may not have done it right, but once you get the manual, I'll be able to put a link to that down below. I definitely didn't expect it to come in the kit form for the price that I paid for it, and the pictures that they showed, but I guess that's the easiest way to ship it, probably. Just would be nice if there was an easy way to get to all the Ortur instructions and everything else. They just make it so complex, using that Dropbox type setup that everybody doesn't use. Very few people use it, I think. And once I figure out how to get it working, I'll make a video and do another update on it and let everybody know. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.